People love you for only two unconscious reasons. Carl Jung's deep insights. Have you ever wondered why someone fell in love with you, rather than someone else? What mysterious forces operate beneath conscious awareness, pulling two souls together like magnets? The answer lies deeper than you might imagine, buried in the unconscious mind, where Carl Jung's profound insights reveal the hidden architecture of human connection. According to Jung, people love you for only two unconscious reasons. These two psychological mechanisms determine who we're drawn to, who breaks our heart, and who becomes our deepest love, all without our conscious knowledge. Before I reveal these two profound reasons that explain your entire love history, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and hit that notification bell. We explore the depths of Jungian psychology and how it transforms relationships every week. Now let's dive into the unconscious forces shaping your love life. Think about your most significant relationship, the one that changed everything. What if I told you that the intense connection you felt wasn't about their smile, their kindness, or their intelligence, but about something far deeper and more primitive working through your unconscious mind? Jung discovered that our conscious reasons for loving someone often mask the true psychological forces at work. The qualities we think we're attracted to? They're usually just the surface-level justifications for deeply unconscious processes. Stay with me because in the next few minutes I'm going to reveal what's really happening when someone falls in love with you, and why understanding these two mechanisms can completely transform your approach to relationships. If you've ever experienced instant attraction to someone that made no logical sense, or if you've struggled with patterns of choosing the wrong partners again and again, what I'm about to explain will finally make everything clear. The first unconscious reason people love you relates to what Jung called projection, perhaps the most powerful and misunderstood psychological mechanism shaping our relationships. Projection is the unconscious process where parts of ourselves, aspects we don't recognize or accept, are experienced as if they belong to someone else. When someone falls in love with you, they're often loving aspects of themselves they've projected onto you. This is profound. Let it sink in. According to Jung, we all carry within us an unconscious image of our ideal partner. This image isn't created by society or media. It emerges from the depths of our psyche, shaped by our earliest experiences, our collective unconscious, and the archetypes that structure the human mind. When someone meets you and unconsciously recognizes elements that match this inner image, it triggers an overwhelming emotional response. They experience a profound sense of recognition, a feeling of "I've known you forever," or "You're exactly what I've been looking for." The fascinating truth? They're partly falling in love with themselves, with disowned aspects of their own psyche that you seem to embody or mirror back to them. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that people tend to be attracted to qualities they themselves possess but don't fully acknowledge? The creative person who falls for another creative spirit? The compassionate soul drawn to others who show deep empathy? This is why Jung said, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The same applies to attraction. What draws us to others reveals what we cherish in ourselves, sometimes buried beneath layers of unconscious material. Let me give you a concrete example. A woman who has suppressed her own intellectual abilities might find herself magnetically drawn to intellectual men. She experiences their intelligence as fascinating and compelling, not recognizing that she's actually encountering her own unused intellectual gifts reflected back at her. The tragedy? Many relationships eventually dissolve when the projection fades, when we finally see the real person rather than the carrier of our projection. This is the disillusionment phase that so many couples experience. But here's where it gets even more fascinating. Stay with me because understanding the second unconscious reason people love you will completely transform how you view attraction and compatibility. Have you noticed how some attractions feel almost fated? As if cosmic forces were pulling you together? Jung had a specific term for this phenomenon, and it explains why some connections feel so powerful they seem beyond your control. The second unconscious reason people love you relates to what Jung called the Anima and Animus, the unconscious feminine side in men and masculine side in women, respectively. Jung believed that we all contain psychological elements of both masculine and feminine energies regardless of our biological sex. The anima represents the feminine aspects in a man's unconscious, while the animus represents masculine aspects in a woman's unconscious. Here's the crucial insight: we're unconsciously drawn to people who embody our inner opposite, our anima or animus. We project these inner figures onto potential partners, creating an almost mystical attraction that feels destined. When a man projects his anima onto a woman, he experiences her as the embodiment of his inner feminine, his soul image. This creates an immediate, powerful, and often overwhelming attraction. The woman seems to radiate a numinous quality, as if she holds the key to his wholeness. Similarly, when a woman projects her animus onto a man, she experiences him as the manifestation of her inner masculine, her spiritual bridge to the outer world. He appears to possess qualities she unconsciously seeks to develop within herself. These projections explain why we sometimes feel we've met our other half, or soulmate. In a very real psychological sense, we've encountered someone who seems to embody the missing parts of ourselves. The intensity of these projections can be staggering. Jung observed that anima and animus projections create the most powerful forms of attraction humans can experience, often described as falling head over heels in love or feeling bewitched. Think about your most powerful attractions. Did you feel an almost supernatural pull towards certain people? As if they held some mysterious key to your happiness? This wasn't merely physical attraction or compatibility, it was your unconscious recognizing a potential carrier for its projected contents. What makes this even more fascinating is that these projections often occur instantly. Within moments of meeting someone, your unconscious can recognize potential matches for your anima or animus image, triggering immediate attraction before you've exchanged more than a few words. Now you might be wondering, if our strongest attractions are based on unconscious projections, are all relationships doomed to disillusionment when we finally see the real person? Not necessarily. Stay with me as I reveal how understanding these dynamics can actually lead to the deepest, most fulfilling connections possible. Before we explore how to transform projections into authentic love, we need to understand another crucial Jungian concept that influences attraction: the shadow. Your shadow contains all the parts of yourself you've rejected, denied, or repressed. These aren't necessarily negative qualities, they can be positive aspects you've never developed or acknowledged. The shadow plays a powerful role in who we're drawn to. Jung observed an intriguing phenomenon: we're often unconsciously attracted to people who embody our shadow elements. This creates a paradoxical situation where we're simultaneously fascinated and disturbed by the same person. Have you ever been drawn to someone who embodies qualities you claim to dislike? The free spirit who attracts the rigid planner? The emotionally expressive person who fascinates the stoic? This is shadow projection at work. These attractions feel electric precisely because they connect us with disowned parts of ourselves. The quiet, responsible person feels alive around someone spontaneous and carefree, experiencing vicariously the freedom they've denied themselves. This explains the common phenomenon of opposites attracting. We're drawn to what we lack, to qualities that could potentially make us whole if we integrated them into our own personality. However, shadow projections can also turn destructive. When we project negative shadow elements, we may find ourselves irrationally irritated or threatened by certain people. These reactions are valuable psychological data. They reveal where our own unacknowledged material lies. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." This transformation occurs primarily through our shadow encounters with others. Consider your own relationship patterns. Do you consistently choose partners who embody qualities you claim to lack? Do you find yourself mysteriously attracted to traits you consciously say you don't value? These patterns reveal your shadow projections. The most powerful relationships often involve both anima/animus projections and shadow projections simultaneously. This creates an almost alchemical intensity, a transformative potential that can lead either to profound growth or painful conflict. What determines which path the relationship takes? This brings us to the critical question of conscious integration, the process by which projection can be transformed into genuine connection. The painful truth about projection is that we don't fall in love with the actual person. We fall in love with what we've projected onto them. This explains why so many relationships follow a predictable arc from idealization to disillusionment. In the initial stages, we see our beloved through projection-colored glasses. They seem perfect because we're experiencing our own internal images reflected back at us. But eventually, reality intrudes. We begin to see the actual person rather than our projection, and disappointment often follows. This is the crisis point where many relationships end. But Jung saw another possibility: the transformation of projection into conscious relationship, what he called individuation within relationship. The process begins with recognition. When you realize that your powerful attractions reveal more about your unconscious than about the other person, you gain psychological leverage. You can start asking, what parts of myself am I seeing in this person? What disowned qualities do they embody? This doesn't mean the attraction wasn't real. Rather, it means the attraction was pointing toward something real within you, toward potential for greater wholeness and integration. If you've experienced the pain of disillusionment in relationships, stay with me. What I'm about to share could completely transform your approach to love and save you years of repeating painful patterns. Jung proposed that mature love begins when we withdraw our projections and start seeing the other person as they truly are, separate from our unconscious images. This doesn't diminish attraction. It transforms it into something more authentic and enduring. Instead of loving our projection, we learn to love the actual person standing before us, with all their complexities, contradictions, and limitations. This shift requires psychological work, but it leads to relationships built on reality rather than fantasy. Crucially, this process doesn't just transform our relationships, it transforms us. By withdrawing and integrating our projections, we reclaim disowned parts of ourselves. We become more whole, less dependent on others to carry psychological content that rightfully belongs to us. This explains why relationship challenges often catalyze profound personal growth. The friction and disappointment we experience aren't meaningless suffering. They're invitations to greater self-knowledge and psychological integration. Jung wrote, "The greater the contrast, the greater the potential. Great energy only comes from a correspondingly great tension of opposites." The tensions in our relationships reveal exactly where our growth opportunities lie. Jung coined the term individuation to describe the process of becoming psychologically whole, integrating the conscious and unconscious aspects of the personality into a more complete self. What many don't realize is that relationships provide one of the most powerful contexts for individuation. Our partners serve as mirrors, reflecting back our unconscious material and giving us opportunities to recognize and integrate it. This is why Jung said, "The meeting with oneself is, at first, the meeting with one's own shadow." In relationship, we inevitably encounter our shadow through the mirror of the other person. When we project our anima or animus onto a partner, we're actually externalizing inner psychological work that needs to be done. The qualities we find magical in them are qualities we need to develop within ourselves. For example, a man who projects his anima onto a woman might be entranced by her emotional depth, intuition, and connection to nature. In mature love, he doesn't just worship these qualities in her. He develops them within himself, becoming more emotionally attuned and intuitive. Similarly, a woman who projects her animus onto a man might be attracted to his assertiveness, intellectual clarity, and decisive action. The path of individuation involves her integrating these qualities rather than solely experiencing them through him. This doesn't mean becoming identical to your partner. Rather, it means recognizing that what attracts you to them reveals what you need to develop within yourself for greater wholeness. The individuation process transforms relationships from unconscious projection to conscious partnership. Two individuating people can form what Jung called a container, a relationship that holds space for both partners' continued growth and transformation. This is fundamentally different from the fantasy-based relationships that dominate popular culture. Instead of seeking someone to complete you, individuation leads to two relatively whole people choosing to journey together, supporting each other's continued evolution. Jung observed that relationships reaching this level develop a quality he called the transcendent function, a creative capacity to continuously generate new possibilities beyond what either partner could conceive alone. Consider how this perspective transforms our understanding of compatibility. Rather than seeking someone who fits our conscious preferences, we might consider who challenges us to grow in necessary ways, who carries images of our own potential development. The question shifts from, "Are they my type?" to "What aspects of myself am I encountering through this person? What growth are they inviting me toward?" If you've stayed with me this far, you're about to discover how these Jungian insights can be practically applied to transform your current relationship or prepare you for deeper connection in the future. How can we apply Jung's profound insights about projection and unconscious attraction in our everyday relationships? Let's explore some practical approaches. First, when you feel intense attraction, practice psychological curiosity. Ask yourself, what aspects of this person captivate me most? What qualities do they embody that I consciously admire? These qualities often point to undeveloped aspects of your own personality. Jung suggested keeping a relationship journal, noting strong emotional reactions, both positive and negative, to your partner. These reactions are valuable data about your unconscious material. Look for patterns in what consistently triggers admiration or irritation. Second, practice what Jung called active imagination with your projections. When you catch yourself idealizing someone, consciously imagine taking back the projected quality. How would your life be different if you developed this quality within yourself? For example, if you're enchanted by someone's creativity, imagine yourself expressing creativity more fully. If their confidence attracts you, imagine embodying that confidence yourself. This exercise gradually helps reintegrate projected content. Third, develop awareness of your anima or animus patterns. What recurring qualities attract you across different relationships? These patterns reveal your inner masculine or feminine image-seeking expression. Men can ask, what feminine qualities consistently attract me? What do these reveal about my inner feminine that seeks recognition? Women can ask, what masculine qualities consistently draw me? What do these reveal about my inner masculine seeking integration? Fourth, pay attention to synchronicities in relationships. Jung believed meaningful coincidences often accompany powerful projections. When you experience uncanny timing, shared dreams, or meaningful coincidences with someone, these may signal that important unconscious material is being activated. Fifth, practice seeing beyond your projections. When in relationship, regularly ask yourself, am I seeing the actual person or my image of them? This simple question creates space for authentic connection. Remember that withdrawing projections doesn't end attraction, it transforms it. As Jung wrote, where love reigns there is no will to power, and where power predominates there love is lacking. True love emerges when we stop trying to make others carry our psychological content. Finally, approach relationship difficulties as growth opportunities. When conflicts arise, ask, what shadow material might be emerging? What disowned parts of myself am I encountering through this tension? This approach transforms relationship challenges from threats to invitations, opportunities to reclaim projected parts and become more whole. Beyond individual psychology, Jung's concept of the collective unconscious offers another dimension for understanding relationship dynamics. The collective unconscious contains universal patterns Jung called archetypes, primordial images that structure human experience across cultures and eras. Several archetypes powerfully influence our relationships. The most relevant is the syzygy, Jung's term for the divine couple, represented in mythology by pairs like Zeus and Hera, Shiva and Shakti, or Osiris and Isis. This archetype manifests in our yearning for divine union with another soul. When the syzygy archetype activates in a relationship, both partners experience a numinous quality, a sense that their connection participates in something mythic and eternal. This explains why lovers often feel their relationship has cosmic significance. The danger lies in confusing this archetypal activation with the actual human relationship. When we expect our partner to permanently embody divine qualities, we set ourselves up for inevitable disappointment. Jung warned against identification with archetypes. When someone believes they've found their perfect divine counterpart, they're experiencing archetypal possession rather than human relationship. This state feels ecstatic initially but becomes destructive when maintained. Another crucial archetype in relationships is the divine child, representing the creative potential born from the union of masculine and feminine energies. This isn't necessarily a physical child. It can be any creative manifestation that emerges from partnership. Jung observed that successful long-term relationships often orient around creating something together, whether children, creative work, shared purpose, or spiritual practice. This third thing embodies the divine child archetype and gives the relationship generative purpose. Understanding these archetypal dimensions helps us navigate relationship challenges with greater wisdom. When we recognize archetypal energies operating through our relationships, we can honor their power without being possessed by them. For example, acknowledging the divine qualities we experience through a partner while recognizing their human prevents the painful swing from idealization to devaluation that destroys many relationships. Similarly, consciously creating something meaningful together satisfies the divine child archetype's need for expression, preventing the stagnation that occurs when relationships lack generative purpose. Jung wrote, "The greatest and most important problems of life are all fundamentally insoluble. They can never be solved but only outgrown." This profound insight applies perfectly to relationships. We don't solve their contradictions. We develop the capacity to hold them in creative tension. For Jung, the ultimate purpose of relationship wasn't happiness in the conventional sense. It was wholeness. He saw romantic love as one of the most powerful paths towards psychological integration. This perspective transforms how we view relationship challenges. Difficulties aren't signs something is wrong. They're invitations to greater consciousness. The very qualities that irritate us in partners reveal exactly where our growth edges lie. Jung observed that successful long-term relationships typically pass through distinct phases, each serving the individuation process. First comes projection, the unconscious transfer of inner content onto the partner, creating intense attraction. Next comes disillusionment, the painful but necessary recognition that our partner isn't identical to our projected image. Then comes the conscious relationship, built on seeing and accepting both ourselves and our partner as we truly are. Finally, there's what Jung called conjunction, a state where both partners support each other's continued individuation while maintaining authentic connection. Few relationships reach this final stage, but those that do develop remarkable depth and resilience. They become vessels for both partners' continued growth rather than static arrangements based on initial attraction. This evolutionary view explains why maintaining passion in long-term relationships requires psychological work. When we stop evolving together, relationships stagnate. Continued growth together, what Jung called parallel individuation, keeps the connection vibrant. A profound paradox emerges. The more psychologically whole we become as individuals, the deeper our capacity for authentic connection. Self-development and relationship depth aren't opposed. They're complementary aspects of the same journey. Jung captured this beautifully. The unrelated human being lacks wholeness, for he can achieve wholeness only through the soul, and the soul cannot exist without its other side, which is always found in a you. This doesn't create dependency. Rather, it acknowledges that certain aspects of ourselves can only be developed in relationship, through the mirror provided by another consciousness encountering our own. The mature Jungian perspective sees relationship as neither an end in itself nor a mere context for individual gratification. Instead, relationship becomes a third entity, a vessel that both contains and transcends the individuals within it. This vessel serves what Jung called the transcendent function, the psyche's capacity to reconcile opposites and generate new possibilities beyond existing polarities. In mature relationship, something emerges that transcends both partners while nurturing their individual development. We've journeyed through Jung's profound insights into the unconscious dynamics of love, from projection to individuation, from fantasy to reality-based connection. Let's integrate these insights into a cohesive understanding. People love you for two primary unconscious reasons: because you serve as a carrier for their projections, both positive and shadow elements, and because you embody aspects of their anima or animus, their inner opposite. These unconscious processes explain the mysterious magnetism we experience toward certain people. They reveal why we fall in love with strangers based on minimal information, why we feel we've known someone forever upon first meeting, and why certain connections feel fated or destined. Jung's framework transforms our understanding of attraction. Instead of seeing it merely as preference or chemistry, we recognize attraction as a profound psychological process revealing our unconscious needs for wholeness and integration. This understanding doesn't diminish love's magic, it deepens it. When we recognize the psychological mystery operating through our attractions, they become even more meaningful windows into our deepest unconscious processes. For those currently in relationships, these insights offer a path through the inevitable disillusionment phase. When projection fades, genuine connection becomes possible, built on seeing and accepting both ourselves and our partners as we truly are. For those seeking relationship, this perspective offers guidance beyond conventional compatibility factors. The question becomes not just, who shares my interests? But, who carries images of my potential wholeness? Who challenges me to grow in necessary ways? Jung believed we're drawn to those who activate our potential for greater consciousness. Our strongest attractions point toward aspects of ourselves awaiting integration and development. This is why relationship serves individuation, the journey toward becoming more fully ourselves. Through the mirror of relationship, we encounter disowned aspects of our psyche and gain opportunities to reclaim them. As Jung wrote, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. This transformation isn't incidental to love, it's central to its purpose. So the next time you feel that mysterious pull toward someone, that inexplicable sense of recognition or fascination, remember, you're encountering not just another person but aspects of your own deeper self seeking expression and integration. This doesn't make love less real. It makes it more profound, a psychological and spiritual journey toward greater wholeness through the mirror of another soul. The unconscious doesn't speak directly, it speaks through attraction, through fascination, through the mysterious magnetism that draws two people together across a crowded room. Learning to decode this language is the work of conscious relationship. Remember, people love you for only two unconscious reasons, and understanding these dynamics can transform every relationship in your life. If you want to dive deeper into Jung's insights on love and relationships, subscribe to this channel now. Hit that notification bell to ensure you never miss our weekly explorations of the unconscious forces shaping your connections. Remember, People love you for only two unconscious reasons. Now that you understand Jung's deep insights, how will you approach your relationships differently? Leave a comment below sharing your biggest insight from this video, and I'll see you next week for another journey into the depths of the psyche.